The name H.N.I.C, it comes from my grandmother. She was the first black woman to own her own building in Jamaica, Queens. And it was a dance school, and it got real big, you know what I mean? And she had a lot of respect, you know what I mean, from all her people that helped her build the business and everything. And they called her the H.N.I.C. And she had this mug in her office, you know, in the building. And I used to be like, yo, I said to her one day, what's that mean on the mug, H.N.I.C? And she told me, head nigga in charge, you know what I mean? I was just like, wow, that's crazy, you know what I mean, when I was young. And when I got older, you know what I mean, I just decided, I was like, yeah, when I make my solo album, I'm gonna call it H.N.I.C, man. The head nigga in charge, that's a powerful name right there. And it got a lot of meaning because, you know what I mean, I got it from my grandmother, so it got a lot of sentimental value to it, you know what I mean? So that's basically where it comes from. Basically, I call the album H.N.I.C. too because, you know, it's in the same vein as H.N.I.C, and it's basically the part 2 to that album. You know, I wanted to, you know, just stay along those lines and just remind people of the first album, you know what I mean? Like, because that's how serious it's going to be with this album right here. Like, it's really like the same feeling and the same grittiness to the album. So this is definitely the part 2 to H.N.I.C, you know what I'm saying? So it was only right that I called this album H.N.I.C Part 2, man, you know what I mean? Nothing else would have fit for my second solo project, you know, so I had to do it, you know what I mean? This is Part 2, like, head nigga in charge. Like I said, it has sentimental value, so I had to run with that, man. I had to stick with it. So that's why I named this album H.N.I.C Part 2. I made my solo albums because, you know, working with Mobb Deep, I was doing a lot of songs, and we always do a lot of songs, like hundreds and hundreds of songs. Like we're real workaholics, man. If you can ask anybody, like our engineer Steve Sola, or anybody that's around us in the studio, and they'll tell you, like, we go hard and got hundreds of songs for real, right? Thousands of songs, you know what I mean? So basically, we got so much material that I couldn't let it just sit there, you know what I mean, collecting dust. I had to do something with it, and why not make a project and get money, you know what I'm saying? Get some extra money, get that extra bread by putting out a solo album, you know what I mean? So it was definitely worth doing for the money and just to get my work out there, you know what I mean? Because I had a lot of work just sitting in the computer, just songs, you know what I mean? Because I'm a song fanatic, I'm a songaholic, you know what I mean? I'm always in the studio working on tracks, so I had to get my material out there, so it was only right I do a solo album, you know what I mean? And plus, before I even met Hav, you know what I mean, I was already doing my solo career. Like, my first song came out on the Boys in the Hood soundtrack back in the days, you know what I mean? That was my first song ever that was out. It was with a group called High Five, and the song was called Too Young. And they actually played the song in the movie Boys in the Hood and at the barbecue scene where Ice Cube and them was playing dominoes in the back. Like, and it's crazy because a crazy story about that movie is my pops, when he was on the run, you know what I mean, in California, in San Jose, he took me to the opening of that movie, the movie premiere out in Cali, and we seen it. And when the song came on at the barbecue scene, we like jumped up in our seats, like, oh, I was like, yo, that's me, Dad. You know what I mean? He was open, you know what I mean? And I was open, so that was an experience, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I was always doing my solo career. I always had that in mind from the beginning, even before I met Hav, you know what I mean? So it was just bound to happen eventually for me to do a solo album. So that's where that come from, you know what I mean? The reason why it took so long to put out this H.N.I.C Part 2 project was because, you know, it's been a long time coming. The first one came out in 2000, and, you know, we've been making Mobb Deep deals, you know, keeping Mobb Deep relevant, because without Mobb Deep, nothing else is possible, you know what I mean? Like, Mobb Deep made all of this possible for us. It made it possible for me to do an H.N.I.C album and for us to do whatever, you know what I mean? So we had to keep Mobb Deep relevant. We had to keep doing new Mobb Deep deals, keeping Mobb Deep on tour, and, you know, we were on the Massacre tour, the Anger Management tour, and the Blood Money tour. And when we got back, I basically had some time to finish up my album, you know what I mean? Because I started working on it back in 2004, You know what I mean? But when we got back from all the touring off the G Unit deal, I really just started, you know, finishing up the project and started working to get it out there. You know what I mean? Even before I caught the little case, you know what I mean? I was already working on putting my album out there, so it was already going down. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, basically that was the reason for the hold up. You know what I mean? Was we was just keeping Mobb Deep's name alive. You know what I mean? Because that's what we care about the most. That's our #1 priority. You know what I mean? So everything else is on hold until Mobb Deep is straight. You know what I'm saying? And once Mobb is straight, then everything else we can work on the H.N.I.C. and H.N.I.C could do his projects. You know what I mean? And that's what it is.